Wilson Morales from Blackford TV. Sascha Penn, first to get a series that's created on your own. How did this come about for you?
Wilson, I was in the original writers' room on Power season one. Courtney and I go way back, and I obviously met 50 season one on Power. And when this opportunity came around, that Courtney and 50 had this idea of an origin story for Kanan. And Courtney, they both felt like it was something that I might be good for. They had described it as Goodfellas, or as they said, Hoodfellas. And I'm sort of steeped in those stories and that world. And as you know, I was in New York in the early mid 90s, just like you. And so it felt like it might make some sense. And here we are.
Was it ever challenging knowing you had this task of creating a series? Granted, you've been here before, you've worked on other projects, but this one is taking off.
Yeah, I mean, it was challenging. It's daunting, man, because you're continuing something that someone else started, right? So that's a lot of pressure just in and of itself. Like I felt a lot of pressure to make sure that this, sort of rose to the level of the original Power. In terms of this experience, yeah, it's way more it's all encompassing in ways I never even expected, frankly. You know what I mean? And also doing it in the middle of a pandemic certainly presented its own challenges, as you can imagine. But here we are, it's very exciting.
Now, during the series, we get a narration from older Kanan, which is different from the other series. What went into throwing that in?
Again, I think part of it was sort of the Henry Hill homage to in Goodfellas. It felt like that it made sense. Also, listen, it's 50. Who doesn't want to hear from 50? And it really felt like Kanan was a character that everybody loved. Everybody loves the villain. And so it gave us an opportunity to keep that character alive. And I think, as you heard, he does function as a character in the series. You hear him and you're like, yeah, I know that guy. And so it just made a lot of sense to have him involved.
Besides that character, you also had a Jukebox, and these are the two characters that came in that you remember from the other series. And obviously, we know what Anika Noni Rose brought to Jukebox, and she's a singer in real life, and you've got Haley in here playing that role, and she's also a singer. Was that to complement what Anika brought to the screen?
100%. Absolutely. I mean, that was by design. I think what Anika did with the original Jukebox was spectacular. And so we needed to find someone who was equally spectacular, and who could do what Anika was capable of doing. And I know for a fact that we did that. Haley is incredible, and as she has an amazing voice, and you'll hear that voice in the series. And so, yeah, I mean, it was as we searched for the actress to play Jukebox, it was very important to us that they had some version of what Anika has, which is unique and amazing in its own right.
You've got a lot of characters here. The thing about Power is that in every one of the series is that we all know who the characters are. Week after week, you start getting entrenched to each character, from Patina's character to Omar's character to London's character. And we know that this is not a one season thing, because it's going to be successful. As a showrunner, and you're dealing with different directors, is it already flushed out as far as how long you think it may go? Because you're going to definitely have at least a season 2.
Well, first off, I appreciate you saying that. Please, when we're done, Wilson, please email Stars and tell them how successful it's going to be and that we need a season 2. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think like anyone who does this, you do have somewhat of a vision in terms of where it's going, right? But the great thing about a writer's room is you have 9, 10 people in a room, and there's a lot of happy accidents that happen, where it's like someone throws out an idea in the room that you never thought of, and then all of a sudden it turns into a new storyline or a new character, or frankly, like a new season, So we definitely, we will tell the full story of Kanan Stark. What that journey looks like specifically, I think is to be determined, and how long they'll give us to tell that story is also to be determined. I'm very, very proud of this first season. I think it really does a great job introducing these characters and this world and these stories. And listen, man, you were in New York in the '90s. I feel like we get pretty close there, So yeah, I mean, I think I'm really, really excited about the show and its potential, frankly.
And before I let you go, we got to definitely talk about the invisible character, which is the '90s. And you have to work hard with your script supervisor to make sure that the music is right, the closing is right, the time period, because when you start hearing some of those lyrics, the songs, the raps, and I know Stars and 50 has the money to get the license. Let's just make sure, wait a minute, that came out in '93. No, it was '91.
Absolutely. No, listen, I mean, you just pointed out one of the biggest challenges of the series, frankly, is maintaining the integrity of the '90s. Because to your point, like, the music has to be music from that era, because as you remember, like I do, like that music was so visceral. Like you hear a song, it brings you right back. You hear BDP, you hear Pete Rock, you hear, whoever it is, it brings you right back to that moment if you were alive then. And I'm dating us here, Wilson, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of it. The wardrobe is the same thing. And one of the things that's interesting, man, is that it's like, especially as it relates to wardrobe, like it's tough to find that stuff. It's like it's not readily available, obviously. So, we've had to go to LA and we've had to go through, like, the studios keep their wardrobe from all the movies they've made. So we're like digging through the crates of wardrobe, trying to find wardrobe from '91, So yeah, man, that's a huge part of it because we want it to feel organic and authentic to '91.
Like I said before, it's going to be a success. Sascha, congratulations once again. I'm sure I'll see you soon,
Yes,
whether
sir.
it be next week or when Dave comes to town, so we'll make that happen.
Without a doubt.
We'll talk later on.
Wilson, be well, man. It's great seeing you.
Mm-hmm.